You can't heal while holding hands with the one who hurt you. That truth applies not just to relationships, but to how we approach our entire lives. If you're constantly dragging your past, your pain, or your expectations with you, there's no room for growth, and definitely no room for joy. Most people are stuck in loops, emotional loops, career loops, even thought loops. They're playing short-term games, chasing short-term rewards, validation, money, status. But underneath it all, they're deeply unsatisfied. Why? Because they never allowed themselves to break free from what hurt them. They're still holding hands with an identity, a belief system, or a person that keeps them small. And while doing that, they wonder why they're not at peace. True joy isn't found in intensity, it's found in consistency. It's not in the highs, but in the harmony, the gentle rhythm of doing something you love over and over again, without resentment, fear, or guilt. Long-term joy is only possible when you're honest with yourself. If you're trying to build a joyful life while staying emotionally attached to what drains you, you're building on sand. It's the same in relationships. You think you can grow while still clinging to the version of yourself that tolerated disrespect, betrayal, or neglect. But healing requires space. You can't heal in the same place you got sick. Letting go doesn't mean hate. It means boundaries. It means not confusing history with destiny, not mistaking familiarity for alignment. When you keep holding hands with what hurt you, whether that's a person, a job, or an old version of yourself, you delay your own evolution. Long-term joy is a byproduct of long-term alignment, and that alignment only becomes possible when you stop negotiating with what you've outgrown. You can't play a long-term game with someone who only thinks short-term. You can't build joy on top of survival mode. You have to be willing to choose yourself even when it's uncomfortable, even when it means letting go of what once felt like home. Most people never give themselves permission to do what they love every day. They believe joy has to be earned after years of suffering, but that belief system is broken. It was taught to you by people who never healed, who confused discipline with self-punishment, and who projected their limits onto you. Joy is a signal. It tells you you're on the right path. When you feel alive while doing something, that's the universe nudging you forward. That's the game you're meant to play. But long-term joy is not just about the thing you do. It's about who you become while doing it. And you can't become someone new while clinging to the version of yourself that was built in pain, defense, and fear. You need to create space for joy, and that starts with subtracting relationships that feel heavy, subtracting routines that feel robotic, subtracting identities that were handed to you, not chosen. Only then can you make room for the joy that isn't fleeting, that doesn't depend on how others treat you or how successful you appear. It becomes internal, steady, durable. People think long-term games are about building wealth. But wealth without joy is just golden handcuffs. The real flex, waking up excited for your day, having peace in your heart, not needing to prove anything to anyone, doing meaningful work with people who energize you. That's the long game, that's the win. But remember, joy takes courage, healing takes courage, because it requires letting go of what's known. It requires trusting the unknown, and it requires sitting with the pain long enough to understand it, not bury it. Only then can you truly enjoy what you do. Only then can you play the long-term game, not just with your career, but with your life. So if you're holding on to someone or something that hurt you, ask yourself, is this bringing me closer to joy or pulling me further from it? And if the answer is the latter, let go, not in anger, not in bitterness, but in clarity, because the life you want, the one filled with joy, depth, and peace, can't be built with the hands still holding what broke you. Suffering is not a badge of honor. It's not a sign that you're strong or noble. It's not the currency for success, and it's certainly not the price of love or loyalty. Yet so many people wear their pain like armor, convinced it gives them value. They stay in situations that hurt them, relationships that drain them, and roles that suffocate them, because they've been taught that enduring suffering means they're doing something right. But you can't heal while holding hands with what hurt you. That pain you refuse to let go of becomes your identity. It becomes the lens through which you see everything: your work, your relationships, yourself, worth. You begin to measure your value by how much you can tolerate, not by how much peace or joy you allow yourself to feel. And over time, that tolerance becomes a cage. You start to believe that happiness is something you have to earn after years of endurance, when really, happiness was available the moment you gave yourself permission to stop suffering. We romanticize struggle. We glorify the grind. We think that if something isn't painful, it isn't valuable. But suffering isn't what transforms you. Clarity is. And you don't get clarity from staying in the fire forever. You get it when you finally walk away, when you stop clinging to the person, pattern, or belief that's been burning you. You don't become wiser by staying in situations that hurt you. You become wiser when you learn the lesson and leave. There's a kind of loyalty that's deeply destructive, the kind that keeps you bonded to pain. You tell yourself stories like, "They didn't mean to hurt me," or "It's not that bad," or "I can fix this." But what you're really doing is betraying yourself in small, quiet ways. And every time you do, you chip away at your self-trust. Healing doesn't happen through endurance. It happens through honesty. You have to be willing to look at the people and patterns in your life and ask, is this helping me grow, or is it just familiar? Familiarity is not the same as love. Just because something feels known doesn't mean it's right for you. And just because you've invested time or emotion into something doesn't mean you're required to stay. You're allowed to walk away from what wounds you, even if it once felt like home. You're allowed to stop trying to prove your worth through pain. The world doesn't reward you for how much you suffer. It doesn't hand you a trophy for staying in toxic places. All it does is reflect back to you what you accept. If you accept pain as normal, that's what you'll keep attracting. If you hold hands with the person or mindset that caused your wounds, you stay stuck in the loop. Healing requires letting go, not just of the person, but of the version of yourself that thought suffering was love, or that hard work meant misery, or that endurance was strength. Letting go doesn't mean you failed. It means you've finally learned to prioritize peace. It means you've chosen to stop proving yourself through struggle, and instead started honoring yourself through boundaries. True healing begins when you stop seeking validation in places that hurt you, and instead find peace in solitude, in silence, in simplicity. There's nothing admirable about burning yourself out for people who wouldn't even light a match for you. There's nothing noble about staying in roles that dim your spirit, in habits that hollow you out, in dynamics that confuse pain with growth. Growth can be uncomfortable, but it shouldn't be depleting. The difference is subtle but crucial. One teaches you, the other drains you. When you're ready to heal, you'll realize that the most radical thing you can do is walk away from what hurts, not because you're bitter, but because you're finally choosing yourself. You're finally realizing that your life doesn't need to be a constant uphill battle, that you don't need to earn love through pain, that your worth was never meant to be measured in scars. Healing isn't loud. It's not always dramatic. Sometimes it's as quiet as unfollowing someone, as subtle as not replying, as soft as resting without guilt. But every time you do that, every time you choose peace over performance, clarity over chaos, you take one step further from suffering and one step closer to your real self. So no, suffering is not a badge of honor. It's a weight you no longer need to carry. You're allowed to release it. You're allowed to heal. And to do that, you have to let go of the hand that once felt safe, but only ever led you back to pain. Joy is a skill you build, not something you stumble into or wait for life to hand you. It's not the outcome of luck or circumstance. It's the result of intentional choices, practiced mindsets, and the willingness to let go of what weighs you down. Most people think joy is something that happens after success, after the relationship works out, after the money comes in. But that's backwards. You don't arrive at joy by dragging your pain with you. You can't heal while holding hands with the one who hurt you, and you can't build joy while staying emotionally attached to what broke you. Joy isn't something you'll feel when everything is perfect. It's what starts to grow when you stop settling for what hurts, when you stop reaching back for familiar chaos and instead choose unfamiliar peace. But that takes practice, because for many people, pain has become a pattern. They're so used to it that peace feels boring and joy feels foreign. They confuse the absence of chaos with emptiness. They think they miss someone when really they just miss the emotional intensity. They think they want the past back, when in reality, they're just afraid to let go of their identity that was built around pain. Building joy starts with subtraction, not with adding more things to your life, but with removing what doesn't belong. Removing the stories that say you have to earn rest, removing the people who constantly trigger your doubt, removing the inner voice that sounds suspiciously like someone who once made you feel small. Every time you subtract something heavy, you create more room for lightness. Every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what can heal you. But you can't build joy if you're still trying to find closure from the person who gave you the wound. You can't expect peace from someone who profits from your turmoil. You keep going back thinking you'll get clarity, or an apology, or understanding. But what you're really doing is keeping the wound open. Healing isn't about dragging the past with you and fixing it. It's about recognizing what's broken and choosing not to carry it anymore. That's how joy begins to have space to grow. Quietly, slowly, almost imperceptibly at first. But with time, it becomes your default instead of your escape. Joy is presence. It's not just laughter or excitement. It's the deep stillness that comes when you're no longer at war with yourself. And to find that presence, you need to stop holding on to what disrupts your peace. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's a version of you that survived hard times. Maybe it's the belief that you're only worthy when you're useful, needed, or productive. Whatever it is, as long as you're emotionally tethered to it, you're leaking energy that could be going toward your healing. People often think joy is too light, too soft, not serious enough. They confuse cynicism for wisdom, but joy is not naive. It's not about ignoring pain, it's about not becoming it. It's about meeting the world with openness, even after being hurt. That kind of joy is earned, not through suffering, but through courage. The courage to walk away, the courage to start over, the courage to sit with yourself and feel everything without numbing it. You build joy by choosing yourself in small moments, by recognizing when you're about to betray yourself again and deciding not to, by spending time alone not because you have to, but because you respect your own energy, by listening to your body, not the noise around you. Every little act of self-respect is a brick in the foundation of lasting joy, and you won't build it overnight, but you also don't have to wait years. You'll feel it the moment you stop returning to what you know is hurting you. The moment you stop romanticizing pain, the moment you let the memory go without needing it to resolve a certain way, that's when the space opens up. That's when joy starts to show up in quiet mornings, in gentle friendships, in work that doesn't drain your soul. Joy is a skill. It's not something you're born with or something you're given. It's something you build every time you choose to stop holding hands with what hurt you and start holding space for the version of you that finally feels safe. That version is already within you, waiting for you to stop looking backward and finally give yourself permission to move forward.